Happy neurons, welcome to Thinking Out Loud. My name is Christine, I'm glad you could make it. Disclaimer, I reside in Canada where medical cannabis is legal. Before I started using medical cannabis, I obviously tried every traditional pharmaceuticals when it comes to dealing with Tourette syndrome, anxiety, sleeplessness, migraines, etc., etc. So of course I went through the traditional gabapentin, clonidine, beta blockers, alpha agonists, SSRIs, antidepressants. I've tried just about every drug known to treating Tourette symptoms. None of those worked for me. At first it would alleviate the symptom, but I would quickly build a tolerance, and all it did over time was increase my dosage to a point where I couldn't think anymore. I was in a fog. My cognitive functions were it killed my brain. It killed my brain. On the plus side, while doing that, I found out that I love my brain more than I hate the ticks. Also used Intuitive RX, more commonly used for ADHD. It didn't work for me. It sent me into an 8-hour panic attack. So needless to say, I'm not trying Intuitive again. To help manage the anxiety, I tried benzodiazepines, also known as Ativan and Xanax. Ativan and Xanax do provide fantastic anxiety relief. I'm chronically anxious, and I can tell you that it dramatically reduced my anxiety levels. So yes, it did feel like a miracle drug. However, with prolonged use, it made me suicidal. And I did not realize how suicidal I was until I had stopped them. I experienced a lot of suicidal ideation, and I came very close to committing it. And I was not depressed at the time. So I'm just saying, if you're on benzodiazepines, or if someone you love is on benzodiazepines, monitor the state of mind. If all of a sudden there's little signs that like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter, I could kill myself, please say something, stop the benzos, find alternative treatment. You take pills to feel better. So yes, you reduce your anxiety, but if you want to kill yourself as a result, I don't see the benefit. So when I spoke to my neuropsychiatrist about using medical marijuana for the treatment of Tourette syndrome and anxiety, he was very open to it. But basically, how it works in Canada, a medical professional will say, okay, 30 grams a month. So that's basically a gram a day. Figure out what works for you, and there you go. I did a lot of research. I discovered a few very important things to know about medical cannabis. So the highlights. First things first. There are two main types of strains in cannabis. Sativa, indica. Sativa is energizing, indica is relaxing. Some strains are a combination of the two. And then you have CBD, which is a cannabidiol, also known as medical pot, non-psychoactive marijuana. And then you've got the THC, which is the TetraHydroCannabinol, also known as recreational pot, but also has some medical properties. I love my brain when it works. So one of the things about medical marijuana was like, am I gonna feel high? Not being cognitively impaired was very, very important to me. How I use it? Well, first of all, it's medicine, so I treat it as such. So CBD oil, it's my go-to. It helps reduce tick pressure. It helps reduce the anxiety. I start my day with anywhere between 0.4 and 0.9 milliliters of CBD every 8 hours. That's for my day-to-day, for my regular day. The overall benefits to using CBD for me, there's been a reduction in tick pressure. Say, for example, on a normal day would be at 7 or 8 and go higher as the day progresses. It keeps it a little lower and more manageable. Same thing with anxiety. I'm not saying it's making anxiety go away, by no means. However, I find that it reduced my anxiety states that's normally between a 6 to 9.5. It reduced it to a 4 to 7.5. I'm just talking for my day-to-day. I still experience panic attacks, PTSD. However, the pressure is much less. Now, a big bonus here that I did not expect, dramatic reduction in migraines for me. So I went from being half my life in a migraine to have barely any migraine at all. So for the migraines alone, CBD, please do yourself a favor. And for people with anxiety, I strongly recommend to not use a sativa THC. Sativa THC is likely to make you paranoid. So steer clear from Sativa THC if you have anxiety disorders, because it will rev you up. When I go to sleep, it's a different oil. So this one is a THC oil. That's good to take about an hour and a half before I go to sleep. So to stay asleep, the oil is fantastic because it releases throughout the body for a number of hours, so 6 to 8 hours. I always smoke a joint before going to bed. It's medicine, so I treat it as such. So I have a scale, I measure everything. So when I go to bed, it's 0.15 to 0.18 grams of THC indica that I smoke before bed. So I might need 1 or 2 of those to help me fall asleep. And to stay asleep, the oil will release throughout the night. And in the morning, there's zero fogginess, no after effects, no mental cloudiness, nothing. I'm up and I'm ready to go. I find that equal parts CBD and THC do help reduce body pain, because the THC, although it is psychoactive, when combined with CBD, the CBD does reduce the psychoactive effect of THC. Also, say for example, I need to take the subway and it's going to be crowded and I know I'm going to have major anxiety and it's going to be heck for me. But if I hop on the subway, I will combine half CBD, half THC in a joint. Smoking a joint takes 3 minutes and the effects are felt within 10 minutes. So if I know I'm going to be in a busy subway car in 15 minutes, I'm going to smoke a half CBD, half THC joint before I take the subway. I'm not saying I'm not anxious, I'm still anxious, but it makes the subway ride more bearable. And when I get at the other end, I'm still able to do my sales presentation, solve problems. I'm still able to do what I went there to do with a little less pressure. So not cognitively impaired was very, very important to me. So I find the combination of CBD and THC was more beneficial to me, both for mental processes and overall well-being, than the traditional pharmaceuticals. That's what works for me. It doesn't always work because guess what? Medical marijuana is incredibly expensive. The cost of cannabis makes it very difficult to obtain. If I was medicating properly, it would cost me anywhere between $540 to $790 a month. That's a lot of money for medicine to feel better, to be able to function. The price alone makes it very preventive for me to get those meds. And when I can't access those meds, it affects my function. And when it affects my function, it prevents access to other things. So it's not just medicine, it's not just being able to function day to day, it's all the trickle effects that results from that. So when I'm able to medicate, it's fantastic. I feel a lot better about myself. It's a lot easier to get through the day. But when I can't afford it, like it has in the last month, or when I'm not able to medicate as regularly as I should, I really notice because the migraines come back. My anxiety just goes right back up through the roof. I can't sleep, and we all know what all those things can do to a body, all those things can do to a mind, all those things can affect a person's functioning and well-being. I feel it's my human right to medicate with the medicines that work for me. Insurance companies do not cover medical marijuana. The government of Canada considers marijuana as a legitimate medical expense. They will give you the tax back, but on $9,000, it's barely a dent. The cost of medical cannabis makes it inaccessible to me when I'm not working. And as a person with Tourette syndrome, I'm 5 to 12 times more likely than a normal person to be without employment. I think a lot of the answers to a lot of chronic illnesses, diseases, conditions, and especially neurological conditions, I think a lot of the answers can be found in the endocannabinoid system. I'm not a scientist, I can only tell you how it affects my body, but I can tell you I will take medical marijuana any day over the harsh pharmaceuticals. Why? Because it does not mess me up. Traditional medicine has a ton of side effects. None of it is preventive. It's all palliative, which means that you're just taking care of the symptoms. It does not take care of the root cause, and it does not take care of the problem. So I think a lot of our answers are in the endocannabinoid system, the CB1 and CB2 receptors, which are throughout our bodies. So I know it's a lot of information, but in conclusion, the important things to remember, there are two strains to cannabis, sativa and indica. Sativa is energizing, indica is calming. And then you've got the two active elements of marijuana, which are CBD, also known as cannabidiol, medical marijuana, and THC, also known as TetraHydroCannabinol, also known as recreational pot, but also has some medical applications. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take out loud.